Eagles postgame show, doing it live from Ocean Casino. You're watching us on 6abc.com and the JAKIB Sports Network on YouTube. I'm Mike Missanelli with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner. All right, let's look at some numbers here. Let's look at Jalen Hurts. The most important thing is he survives, right? He gets out of the game where he didn't take a lot of hits. He bailed out quickly. He did the things that they obviously coached him to do all week. Don't put yourself at risk. Interestingly enough, they wound up with almost a 50-50 split today, run-pass. So let's look at his numbers. 20 for 35, 229. Not a great day. He got sacked 3 times. He did not look like he had great arm strength. Now, did I see something different than you guys?
No, I think that's a fair assessment. You know, during the broadcast, the announcers were talking about he admitted he didn't start throwing the football until last Thursday. I mean, airing it out. He was throwing the short intermediate passes after that, but in terms of just airing it out to see what kind of discomfort he had in his shoulder, it didn't really happen until last Thursday. I'm going to attribute it to having 2 weeks off as ring rust, okay? Now, the one throw he made today where he threw it in like triple coverage and it turned out being an interception, that's not the Jalen Hurts we've been accustomed to watching, okay? So today was a day where you get those kinks out of there, you know, get that rust off. Now you've got 2 more weeks to really heal up, and you're going to have to air it out. Plain and simple, you're going to have to air it out and beat Jalen Hurts in 2 weeks because now it's one and done. There's no more room for error. And we were the best team in the NFC. We have to defend our home turf, and the best way we defend our home turf is for you to play your game. So that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, Seth, here's the other part of it. Wink Martindale, who I know you have great respect for, fired the blitz on almost every play. I mean, it seemed like he was blitzing every play. So I assume that Jalen was told, don't risk it. They're going to come after you, get rid of the ball quick. They really never could break guys loose, especially Devontae. They didn't really break him loose. They caught a big one to A.J. Brown. Well, what did you see with Jalen and how the Giants were defending him and how he was reacting?
Well, they wanted to speed up his clock. You know, they knew that he hadn't played and that his timing and rhythm and all of that stuff would be off. So, you know, like I feel like that's the way you play defense is you speed up a quarterback's clock and you make him you put him under pressure and you make him make bad decisions. You know, and they made Jalen throw some balls today that were really, really questionable. Like the interception, I'm like, what are you thinking about? Just throw the ball out of bounds, we'll kick another field goal. But there's no reason to throw that ball there when you're already out of the pocket. Just throw it away. And normally, he doesn't make those types of mistakes. There was another one that he threw up, and even some of the sacks that he took. You know, I think that normally he would have tried to fight his way out of those sacks and try to make something happen. But that's what I'm talking about when you plug in a protectionism mindset into a player's head, you know, to make sure that you take care of yourself. Now, the desire to even try to get out of that situation isn't even there. I'd rather take the sack and go down where they can't fall on me and really hurt me than to, you know, try to make something happen. And that's what I'm normally trying to do. My concern is, Mike, about this whole thing is, in football, you don't have the luxury to just turn it on when you want to turn it on. It just doesn't work that way. You know, everything is habitual. The things that you do from week to week, day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, second to second, plays into how you approach the football game. And I just don't believe that you can just flip a switch and all of a sudden get back to the productivity level and doing the things the way that you were doing it when the offense was really clicking.
I totally agree, and this leads to the next question. Can we expect them to now flip a switch? You would love to feel that your quarterback is back in sync, playing on all cylinders, playoff time. Where are we now? It seems like we're in limbo looking at this team and this quarterback and this offense as they go into the playoffs. Do you feel that, or can you just wipe this away?
I think the most accurate word you just said was limbo, because we won't know until we watch this team play, whoever their first opponent is. Whoever their first opponent is against the Eagles, think about this. I'm studying the Giants' defensive film to a T because the Giants stressed this Eagles offense defensively with backups, okay? Now, whoever the Eagles face are going to have much better personnel playing on their defense than the Giants' backups. We know it's a copycat league. If I'm a coordinator, I want to emulate some of the things the Giants were doing. It seems, now just based on today, and again, we take into consideration Jalen Hurts is coming off 2 weeks layoff. There was some rust involved here, so he's not as sharp as we're accustomed to seeing. But as a coordinator, I've got to go into their house. We know how explosive they are. Can we do to go with what Seth said? Speed up Jalen Hurts' clock and the offense's clock. The best way to do that is to attempt to get pressure on it. I'm at least going to test that theory for the first 15 minutes of the ball game to see if it works. If it works, you continue to do it until they take you out of it. If it doesn't work, then you go to game plan number 2.
My thing is, I'm curious to see how the Eagles coaching staff can mask some of the things that they do. Listen, they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare. And the preparation doesn't have to be for a specific opponent until you get to the week before the game. In that preparation, you've got time, as a staff to kind of look at, look at yourself. That self-evaluation. Every time that you get to, a coaching staff always hopes that they can get it to about 8 games before, they take a bye week. Because that gives them an opportunity to go back and look at the 8 games. The offense coordinator can pull out his call sheets, and he can, and they can look at the data and understand, okay, what patterns are in here that's easily detectable by our opponents. Because they're studying our tendencies and our probabilities, just like the data is here to show what it is that we do. So what can we change up? What little tweaks and changes can we make, to how we call plays and routes that we run and defenses that we run and how we disguise what we're in and whatnot? Because right now I just get the sense that, teams have kind of figured out what to do with this offense. Especially, if Jalen's not going to be a major threat running the ball. And even if you take him away, like D-Gun, you talked about how they took him away and made him stay in the pocket today. Well, guess what? He's going to have to learn how to operate from the pocket. Especially, if you're going to play zone. I've seen him do it before, so I don't have any concerns that he can do it. But you got a game plan, and you got to prepare him to have to stand in the pocket and read what he's seeing and go through his progressions again without feeling like, I got to hurry up and get the ball out of my hand.
So where would you start with the preparation? Seth Joyner's creating the preparation. What do you think is in the first week, the bye week, where you have time to work that out? Where are you going with it?
My first thing is I got to evaluate why is it we're not establishing the run game early in games. Why is it that we're reverse engineering this thing where we come out and we throw, and then, when things don't work out the way that we really want them to, then we go back to the running game? Because every single time that we get back to the running game, it opens up the rest of our offense. So why not start out that way and look at the data and say, okay, we're going to attack your most obvious weaknesses, okay? We're going to attack them. And then we're going to put you on the defensive and make you make an adjustment. And then we'll adjust off of what your adjustment is. That's the first thing that I'm doing.
3 straight games against Por's run defense, they throw the ball, Mike. That's a concern
for me. And the one good drive they had, it was a balance. It was a balance. It was 6-6.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, when you look at the final stats, it was a very balanced in terms of plays. I believe 35 pass, 34 run.
34.
But early in the game, you come out 10 consecutive passes against this run defense, playing a bunch of backups? Are you kidding me?
The only thing I can think about is they wanted to get him throwing the ball to get sharper. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with, because I agree. It seems ludicrous to do it that way, but I think maybe they said, we got to get him back throwing the ball with it, timing and all that stuff. Maybe that's why they did it.
Mike, but they've been doing it for the last 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the more we cry for this coaching staff and this team to run the football, the more they thumb their nose at us like, we're just going to run it. We're just going to throw it just because you asking us to throw it, to run
like
it.
The old Andy Reid mindset. We used to complain about Andy Reid doing that when he was here.
We did. Yeah, we did. We wonder why Andy Reid wouldn't run the football, and he would pass. But yet he would be in 5 consecutive NFC championship games. 1 Super Bowl, didn't win it. Now we're doing the same thing with Sirianni. But this is a different day and age in terms of the way the game is being played now. And I know it's a pass-happy league, but this is one of the few teams that can control a game on the ground, and they haven't taken advantage of that the last 3 weeks.
All right, Seth, what did you think about their defense today?
The defense didn't look like, it was just revved up. Like Hassan Reddick, this dude is just like, he's like Pac-Man for sacks. And anytime, I mean, he's 120 miles an hour all the time. BG, 120 miles an hour all the time. I'm still, where was Hargrave and Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue and Fletcher Cox, you know, just silence. You know, Darius Slay really concerns me because sometimes he doesn't even look like he's totally engaged, you know, and I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is. I don't know whether it's the passive play calling that has him off the ball, you know, and afraid to react and afraid to miss a tackle, or whether it's he would rather be up in the guy's face all the time where he can be more aggressive and get in the guy's hip pocket. I'm just not sure. But he does not look like the same player over the last 6-7 weeks as he looked like at the beginning of the season. That's scary to me because if I can see it and it's something that's perpetuated in film over time, I can promise you other offenses see it and they're going to come after him and they're going to challenge him in certain situations. The continued belief in T.J. Edwards as a cover linebacker. It's almost like, you know, they just don't believe, you know, that this guy can't be beat. And he is, to me, a weak link in the passing game. I mean, can you imagine? They go dime. When they go dime, they take Kasir White off the field. And T.J. Edwards is left to cover the running back. Can you imagine T.J. Edwards on Christian McCaffrey? You didn't tell me you feel good about that matchup? Yeah. And they run screens off of it. They're one of the best screen teams in the National Football League, you know, and they get those offensive linemen out there in front of them. I just, you know, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm happy that the Eagles have gotten where they've gotten, you know, but our job is to, like, break this thing down, you know, and talk about the good things as well as, you know, talk about the flaws and the things that can prevent them from, you know, having this season end up like we all want them to. We all want them to wind up in Arizona, and we all want them to walk away with the Super Bowl. That's just a fact. But we also have to realistically pay attention and look at this thing and ask ourselves, what are the pitfalls that could potentially trip this team up? You know, so that's really what we're doing as we analyze this, Mike. You know, yeah. And those are some of the things that are concerns for me.
Now, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was back today. He flashed maybe like one play. He had, I think, 6 tackles.
I thought he played great.
He was engaged. You thought he played okay?
I thought he played great.
All right, so we're good with him coming back.
Yeah, and like I said, he's better suited to play on the back end than he is on the slot. It would be a luxury if you can put him down on the slot. You cannot afford to not have him on the back end of that defense when you look at who they could possibly be playing in the playoffs. As much as I would like to see him be back at his natural position, that's just not feasible in this particular defense. Josiah Scott, he didn't play a bad game today.
Well, I tell you what.
He didn't play a bad game.
When you don't hear a guy's name,
yeah.
When you don't hear a defensive guy's name, you know, it's in the secondary. You know, it works the opposite. When those guys up front, when you don't hear, you know, those guys' names, like where the hell was he all day today? Yeah. But when you don't hear a guy like Josiah Scott's name after all the heat that he's been under the last couple of weeks, that means, you know, maybe he played a pretty solid game. I got to go back and watch it again. But
I never thought I'd say this. My biggest concern on this defense right now has to be Darius Slay. To be quite honest with you, he hasn't had an interception since that first Dallas game. You look at the way he's played in a lot of cases over the last 5, 6, 7 games. He has not played like the shutdown corner we've been talking about much of the season.
Seth was concerned about it as well. I'll just say one thing. Reed Blankenship, I didn't really study every play, but I didn't like the fact that he got trucked by a quarterback at the goal line. So we'll continue because John McMullen, who covered the game at Lincoln Financial Field, should have some really interesting views on where they are right now. It is the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino, and we're back